here with another Mastermind Social Spotlight with one of our fantastic GMs. So today I am here with Arthur Velwest. Welcome, Arthur. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, Kayleigh. I'm excited for this interview, if you can't tell by my background.
Very much. Yeah. Well, I do definitely want to talk about Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which you're going to be offering, if not already by the time this comes out, then very shortly, as a family game, and you also have experience running it for all audiences. But I do want to quickly touch on the fact that it's very exciting to get to interview you because you're the first, my first like real D&D GM, the first like campaign GM I had. So of course I do want to start by asking, how would you rate me as a player, score of 1 to 10?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Get into the lore
Yeah.
of Kayleigh, the adventure specialist.
Yeah, this is about
behind the
me. Yeah.
scenes. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is actually an interview about you.
Yeah.
No, you're a great player. I mean, if we really
Great.
want to
That's
get
what I was
into
looking
it,
for.
yeah,
We don't need to. It's
11
fine.
out
I
of 10.
just great. That's what I was looking for. Also, great GM. So I will say that
Thank
too.
you. Yeah.
But just needed a little ego boost first. But yes, let's get into Wild Beyond the Witchlight. First of all, what is Wild Beyond the Witchlight for anyone who is not familiar with the it knows what those words mean separately, but not what they mean when applied in quick succession as a
So
sentence.
wild is when someone acts a little weird or
Yeah,
out of
no, we don't need
sorts.
to get into like the definitions of the words. I'm saying that probably most people have that
Absolutely.
so far. Yeah.
So then Witch is like a spellcaster who.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Wild Beyond the Witchlight is one of the recent modules that Wizards of the Coast, the people who make D&D, came out with, and a module is kind of like a set story that they write out. That is a book filled with details that a game master like myself can read through and kind of turn into a story for you. So instead of us having to create our own world and create our own bad guys and everyone in it, they have this content that we can use. And while I do prefer to make my own stuff, I'm fairly familiar with it, as you yourself know. Wild Beyond the Witchlight is a wonderful campaign. I've read through maybe 4 or 5 written by Wizards of the Coast, and this is definitely my favorite. I think things that it does really well is it is a more story-focused game. It likes to boast that you can go through it entirely without combat. Now, I've run some of it, and there's definitely combat in it if that's what you're looking for. But for some players who are like, I either want to not have combat or avoid combat or find unique ways around that, this module allows that for you and allows that space, which is really fun as a game master to be able to move around in.
Great. And what is the storyline basically, as much as you can sum it up?
The much as I'll sum up for someone who hasn't played it yet is you are here at the Wild Beyond Witchlight Carnival, which is a carnival that every 8 years comes to different places throughout the multiverse, traveling through the Feywild. You have lost something. You have come to this carnival many years ago when you were a child, and you have lost something there, and you have come back to reclaim this item. It can either be an item like a lost toy, or perhaps even a few inches of height, or the ability to sense how good of your fashion is. I have one character who has the most terrible fashion sense, and everyone likes making fun of him for it. And he's trying to get that back. But as you explore the carnival and meet the denizens of there, both people who work there, people who are visiting, a larger story is revealed, so much so that you may have to even travel into the Feywild to set right all of the wrongs that have happened here.
In a case like this, where it is a sort of pre-written module, and you said you do generally prefer to write your own storylines. How do you take a pre-written story and sort of put your own twist on that?
I mean, honestly, it's less of my own twist and more of the twist of my players. I plan to be running this a lot of times, and it's very much going to be radically different based on what the players I have come into it. I mean, that is, I think, one of my strengths as a dungeon master. I radically will change the story based on who is playing in it, because, like, let's say an elven fighter will go through a story much different than an Aarakocra warlock. But even just the player themselves are looking for different things in the story is going to change to focus on what they're interested in. I think the story will change just as much as if I ran a story that I crafted myself multiple times, where whatever the people are coming in looking for, I'm going to focus on that. So there might be this book is filled with a ton of content, but also content that is able to be shaped. So I might focus on this part or that part depending on what I sense my players are interested in.
I don't want you to give away too much of the storyline, but just if you're able to give an example, I don't know how much you can go into of like what are the things that people might be looking for when they join a really any D&D game, but in particular this game.
If you are looking for more combat in your game, more role play, or more puzzles, a variety of the three, there are literally I mean, the carnival is yours to explore. For this part of the module, there are I think 13 different attractions, and you choose which ones you are going to. But all of them have different focuses on kind of racing against you. Like the snail racing is a great time if you want to combat your fellow players in a non-combat game, but you're still trying to win against each other. But also the carousel has a lot of interesting puzzles to explore. Or if you're looking for some introspection, I might recommend the Hall of Illusions. But also if your character backstory focuses on loss or regret, there's a lot of different characters that can kind of echo that, and I can kind of put that to the forefront. Or if you're looking for something else, there's a lot of different people that you can focus on.
Yeah. So I know one of the things that we were talking about for this game is our family games, for groups of kids, family groups, adult friendly adults and their kids. What about this makes it a good adventure for families and kids?
I mean, I think the setting of a carnival is very friendly. There's all of the villains of the stories kind of goals are very I want to destroy you instead of murder you terribly. It is very the less combat means there's not as much gruesome battles. I think it's a vibe. I think the carnival Fey-like vibe creates a vibe is the best word I have for it, but you can even say that it's fairy tale like. I think this module kind of pushes the idea of a fairy tale. There's a lot of repetition. If you're looking for a game that tells a fairy tale more than it tells a grand adventure, I think Wild Beyond the Witchlight is a perfect choice for you.
What is the experience like running a game for families?
It's great. I've run a few games for families so far, and I used to talk with coworkers about what's better, running for kids games or running for adults. And I think family games win out because you kind of have the best of both worlds. And I've played a few games where the dad has been a dungeon master for the kids for a while kind of thing, and then he's finally getting to play with them, and seeing the family dynamics persist and yet everyone is a peer is really interesting. I don't think there's a lot of experiences you can have where you get to be a peer with your dad or with your kids or with your mom. And it's really exciting to see that come about, where they are both their family dynamics are still there, but they get to talk to each other as peers, fellow adventurers, trying to find out this secret. And it's really cool to see that take place and form in front of me.
Yeah, definitely. Is there an example you can think of a time when maybe you could see, at least from the outside, the family dynamic shifted a little bit, maybe someone else was sort of in a different role than usual.
I had a great experience in my recent Murloc Tomb one shot where the entire family was like preparing to open a door because they knew there were bad guys on the other side, a bunch of dark robed cultists. And just how they were prepping for going through the door and like making sure everyone was set. And then once they burst through the door and had an action, one of them like first round like did a ton of damage, and one of the kids end up like defeating one of the cultists. And I talked to them. I was like, so cool. So how do you do that? How do you finish him off? And the mom got really excited because like she had definitely played in a lot of games where like the DM was like, how do you do that? And she was very excited for his first how do you do that? And it was really exciting to see her being excited for him for that moment. And then he described an amazing a very amazing death scene that I will not repeat here because it was very gruesome.
Oh wow. Okay. What have you found in terms of running games for kids specifically? Like, you know, as much as you can sort of make generalizations about running games for kids versus adults, you know, how do you keep their attention, especially when you're talking virtually? How do you keep them entertained?
Honestly, I get that question a lot, and I find it much easier to run games for kids because of their endless imagination. It's a lot of like stepping back and being like, yeah, what do you want to do? Okay, let's figure out a way to make that happen. I also do a lot of like stage improv, which is actually how we met. More of the Kayleigh backstory. But
just get a little bit each interview with me.
A little bit,
then,
yeah. This is where it all comes together. But in improv, there's a lot of talk about how new people come and have boundless creativity because they don't know what is wrong. So they just do a thing, and it's really exciting. Versus like veteran improvisers will be scared to like go through a thing because they know it's like incorrect. And I think kids are the same way. They come into D&D, they don't know what's correct. They just do a thing because they're excited about it. And as a GM whose like main idea is like nothing you're trying to do is wrong, like I want to foster what you're interested in, it makes it really easy to play with because they will tell you what they want and you just have to kind of pick up the pieces and like flow the story through them. But yeah, kids games are very exciting to play and very rewarding.
So it's almost like the adults are the ones who have more trouble getting into character and playing, whereas kids are like totally used to this.
Oh, absolutely. Kids have been like role playing their entire lives. It's just what kids do. So they have no problem just stepping in through that.
So you've also written a blog piece too for the Mastermind blog about running this game as a GM. Is that fair to say?
Yes. I would never want to push anyone towards one activity over the other. But I definitely think some of the like I said, the carnival, just like the start of this module is a very open-ended situation where you can choose what you want to focus on. And I would definitely recommend just going with your gut or what seems interesting to you. But like as someone who's run it a few times, there are definitely ones I favor or think are more interesting. A lot of them have kind of things that prevail throughout the rest of the story, whereas your choice now affects like 3 chapters down the line when you're like level 7, which I think is really cool and interesting, because I like how I have to write this down because it's going to be important in 3 months. And some of them are just like cool fun times that like I would never say that any of them are not a good time. You're going to have a fun no matter which one you go to. But I couldn't help like putting my opinion out there and listing the ones that you gotta see, the ones that you could skip, and a few honorable mentions that are really interesting. I would not necessarily recommend that for people who are interested in to play with me because it does have a bit of spoilers in it. But if you are a dungeon master who is interested in running this and maybe not sure where to like focus your players, or if your players aren't sure where to go, where to recommend, I would definitely recommend that article.
It's a good thing we should actually talk about too is that Mastermind also offers like free consults with our GMs, which is like a great way to talk about. It's a great way if you're interested in GMing as well. It's to talk about um, you know, bounce ideas off of our experts. And I think I don't know what I can say yet, but I think we're gonna have some interesting opportunities on the way too for people who are interested in GMing more, especially young people.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, honestly, the best way that I think is out loud discussing with other people. I've honestly used our fellow GMs as a resource. So if you're out there kind of struggling with something as a dungeon master, I really recommend like pretty much all of our game masters are great people to talk to. I'd recommend myself because I think I'm really cool. But I'm happy to sit down and talk to folks about what's going on in their game, and really focus on what your goals are and expand from there. Or just like send you random puzzles that I think are fun. Whatever you're looking for.
what's a way that someone, one of our other GMs, or not necessarily one of our other GMs, but what's a way that our other GMs at Mastermind have helped?
That's tricky because the first thing that comes to my head is a puzzle that would be a pretty big spoiler for some
Okay.
folks. But I have talked to a few people about kind of. I had a puzzle that I think was a little too hard and I wanted to give more hints to, but I didn't want to just tell them like what it was. And I had some help specifically from Rob, who's a fellow GM. I'll shout out Rob. He gave me some real help that was kind of placing in the scene not overt things, but kind of like little, oh, this is just a background piece in the thing. It doesn't actually matter. But then my players were like, let's investigate that. And I was like, yes, thank you, Rob.
Most of the people I've been talking to recently, it's been really great talking to some of the newer GMs who haven't had interviews yet and have been a little bit newer to Mastermind. It's great talking to you too because you've been with Mastermind a little while now and you have a little bit more experience with Mastermind as a company and running different games for Mastermind. How would you describe like the Mastermind community in general? Talking about the Discord server, just the just meetings with other GMs, the community, the streams that we do, things like this interview. How would you describe Mastermind as a community, basically?
I remember talking to actually one of the newer GMs. They asked me a similar question during I actually helped out with some of their interviews. And I've worked at a few places that claim to be like a family. And I found that usually means that they want you to work extra hours or they want you to do things that are like not your job. Mastermind is one of the few places I found that actually feels like a family. And I think that comes from it being literally started from a family. And I think they bring that, everyone they bring in, they bring that sense of family and community in. And everyone in our Discord, everyone in our community are people who like love storytelling, love collaborating, and come in wanting to give. So if you need something, there are going to be people like crawling over each other wanting to like help you, and it's just a matter of like, who do you think is going to help you most? Who do you think you gel with best? Because there's going to be someone.
Mm-hmm. Great, awesome. Well, um, I think that's a great way to wrap things up. Is there anything else? Obviously, you've got your Wild Beyond the Witchlight game, and you've got your blog post. Is there anything else you would like to plug? Anything else you would like to say?
I would also like to say that I I love running Dungeons and Dragons. If you check out my page on our Mastermind website, you'll see I run a ton of other tabletop role playing games like Monster of the Week, Monster Hearts, Dungeon World, etc. So if you really like D&D or but are interested in trying a new system or trying something that might be a bit more simple or story focused or maybe even more complicated or perhaps in a sci-fi setting or eldritch horror setting, there's a lot of variety of games. I'm happy to talk to you with a free consultation about what kind of game you're looking for, but there's a lot more games out there, and I'm happy to run them if you're interested.
Oh, and I want to talk about those games too, but maybe next interview we'll cover all those. But thank you so much, Arthur. If you're looking for a game either with Arthur, one of our other great GMs, feel free to email me at KREICHMAN@mastermindadventures.com, and I will get you all set up with a game, find you exactly what you're looking for. Yeah, this has been fantastic. Thank you. Go play, Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Go play another game. I'm still finding a way to end these interviews. All right.
Go play a game.
Go play a game.